All right, click the links for Odysee, Bit Chute, join channel, become a valued member, get access to Discord, Gab, and all that kind of stuff, or support channel, the various other links. If you're doing an interview, I got to do an interview. Sounds fun. Someone at the BBC, who's interviewing me? Oh, this chick. Oh, no. What do you mean? Did you want to do the interview? Not with her. No. Why do you? What? No. Do you have another interviewer? How, what are you saying, sir? How dare? Yeah. I just don't want to do an interview with her. No reason. Just you got someone else, someone someone who might be a little less biased. You don't know that she's going to be biased. Oh, but I do. I do know she's going to be biased because I'm not a fucking idiot. This is your interviewer. Just no thanks. No thanks. I'll tell you what. We're going to pass on this interview. Thanks. Thanks for the offer, and catch you next time. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's. No interview for me. No, not if that is your interviewer. That's just a general rule of thumb. There's a guy who's on YouTube, and he's on Odysee now. The name of the video is the channel Way of the World, which is such a great phrase. There's a lot of people who don't know the way of the world, and they don't know the way of the ever-changing world. And once you get past a certain age, perhaps you pay a little bit less attention to the culture war than you did as a kid. But there are young people now who don't know the way of the world. Like if I was telling somebody at a certain age now, be on social media, if you're under a certain age, have a social media presence, but it's just like, I don't know, a dead letter office. It's just a placeholder for you. You have a social media presence, a Facebook and all those mainstream, because people need to see that you're a person who has a social media, and you just post pictures of dogs and flowers and just this, like what my Facebook and Instagram is. It's just artwork. It's stupid like found objects, like, seashells and garbage, just stuff you discover while walking. Hey, look, some flowers. Like, yeah, nobody cares about that. You have to have a social media presence in the current era. People need to see that. Otherwise, they know that you're hiding something. So you have that normal social media presence. This is the way of the world that will be used against you, where it's just nothing. It's just garbage. This is kind of mundane milquetoast. Oh, hey, look, this somebody painted on a fence, and they painted a flower on a fence. Look, isn't this great? It's like, yeah, you have that, and then your real social media presence is anonymous on Gab and Odysee and all this kind of stuff, and Post and World Truth Video and 4chan. That's your real life. You have the front face of Instagram and Facebook, so an employer can look at it. Nowadays, a lot of people are working for themselves, just making their own, carving out their own gigs. Because you know the way of the world that, it's screwed because it builds this low trust society where I was thinking, like, you walk in and you see somebody doing something a little nefarious, and like, unless it's a person committing a battery upon another person, like if it's something to do with a property crime, nowadays you're more likely just to keep walking, because if you say something or look into it, or like they're gonna have some Karen law against you. Like that's a society that is just turned that slippery slope into steep decline, where you see somebody who's a bit sus and you can't call the cops on them, or you can't even go and talk to them because they're going to pull out their cell phone and they're going to start recording you. It's like, do you really want to get doxxed, fired, your life destroyed because you suspected somebody of breaking into cars or doing something like along those lines? It's like, no, you just mind your own business and keep moving. It's like, that's a shit society. That is a shitty society. Now, and when it's in your neighborhood, it's a little bit different because you have a duty of care, not a legal one, but an ethical one to protect your neighbors. So that's a little bit different, but we're headed for just the darkest of dark days, all because we didn't speak up earlier. So anyway, John Cleese gives this interview, and he's talking to an idiot. And like I said, if you see your interviewer is somebody like that, oh, I tell you what, I got to go. What? We scheduled this interview like a week ahead of time. No, look what time it is. It's time for me not to get fucked in the ass by some interviewer. Gotta go. Merry Christmas. Yeah, that's what you say. Are you? Why are you declining this? Get me somebody who's not going to be a total twat. Can you do that? How dare you, sir? Are you just because she's a woman? Partially, that's part of the equation. Yes, that she's a woman. I need an Englishman to give me a fair interview, and that's the truth of the statement. Like, you're going to get a fair interview from an Englishman, but you're not going to get a fair interview from that woman because she's a woman and she has an axe to grind. And that's the way of the world. Knowing a lot of these ways of the world will get you through society a lot slicker. So anyway, he does this interview with the BBC World, which is dog shit now. And he's right. He is way beyond right. He's an adult who's dealing with communist kids. It's not a question of being too old and aging out of understanding this culture war, because this goes way across age groups. It's communists versus nationalists. He's doing this interview with her, and she wants to harp on about a new project. And she wants to harp on the one thing about cancel culture and Dave Chappelle and the trans issues. It's like, why don't you ask Dave Chappelle about that? Well, he wouldn't give me an interview because he's a big star. So the thing is, as I was watching this, I was watching Revenge of the Nerds Part 2, which was directed by Philip Roth in 1980-something. And then they made a Part 3, which is like a made-for-TV, which was, oh, God, unwatchably bad. Except for Booger. He brought some class to it. So I've been on this kick for 80s crappy movies. And the thing is, looking back at the symbolism of all these movies, most of them, I realized that the woke propaganda has been going on for a very long time. And at Nerds Part 2, the four main antagonists are blonde, waspy guys who are also developmentally disabled for some reason. Oh, that wacky Hollywood with their anti-blonde stereotypes. The point is, you can go back to these 80s movies, and I know you're about my age in your 40s on up, and you can see this for a long time. And once you see it, you see it. You never unsee it. And to be fair, it ruins a lot of old movies. Like, you just can't, like, I mean, a lot of old movies, you can't go back and watch them without seeing this propaganda of like, gee, what is Revenge of the Nerds really saying? Anyway, so what I mean with this 80s stuff is the seeds were in motion a long time ago, and that's a horrible metaphor, but I couldn't think of the correct one. There was nowhere for this to end up differently. This was the path they set in motion. This is where they wanted to end up. Nobody put a stop to it in the 80s because, partially, there was no structure in place to stop all this. And, it was a slowly boiling frog in the pot. Nobody thought it was that much of a big deal, but the slippery slope just kept getting greased with KY jelly, and things just kept slipping further and further, accelerating it whether you wanted to or not. Now every antagonist is blonde, and commercials are 100% black unless they need a fall guy. And then there's a stupid white guy to be the fall guy. Like, yeah, except, past 1,000 years, they built Europe when they weren't killing each other in wars. A pretty successful group of people to, build a civilized society in that part of the world. They built some fantastic things. They came up with some amazing philosophy. There's the triangle of what's it called? The triangle of development. It's like Germany, France, part of the UK, where 99% of like civilized ideas came from development at a certain period of time. So that was Europe. But in TV commercials now, they're just fumbling, bumbling idiots. Now they started this in the 90s that I remember, where they had the father figure, oh, you wacky Hollywood with your deconstruction of the family and the patriarchy, where the father figure was just kind of fat, bumbling idiot. And even people noticed it in the 90s, like, this is bizarre. But nowadays in commercials, that's all the commercials. It's just there'll be like a black couple who is perfect everywhere, and then there'll be some white guy who's like sitting on a tree chainsawing it, and the limb falls on the black couple's car. Because white people are so silly. They're such silly billies. How do they ever manage to build Europe and civilization? It's at some point you've got to speak up against this kind of stuff, which is what I'm for. Anyway, and math is racist. In 2021, math is racist. Good luck building civilization when calculus, differential equation, when you can't do trigonometry because X and Y are apparently racist now. Maybe you're just idiots, or maybe you just, listen, you're going to have to, math takes time. You have to work hard on it. Maybe it's not. Maybe this is just cultural Marxism. They don't like that phrase when you call it all cultural Marxism. It's like, what does it mean? It's like, this is what it is. All this crap you're doing. The Frankfurt School. So John Cleese can't really do an interview with these children because he's treating them like adults. Shark's eyes, doll's eyes, soulless eyes. I could talk to them because I would explain that they are godless communists who are slaves to Soros, Schwab, and Rothschilds. I probably wouldn't talk to them either. Talking to the media is definitely a no-go. Because, they have I'm going to film it myself. It's like, yeah, they can disseminate it to 1 million people. You can disseminate it to 100,000. They're simply regurgitating globalist talking points. And ultimately, it boils down to the fact that different tribes can't live together. because different tribes hate each other. It's like all of human history has been that. And all of a sudden to say that, oh, you must be marching in Hugo Boss to say what is apparently obvious, all of human history for the past 1.8 million years since Lucy. Oh, yeah, that must be. Either that or you're wrong, and what I'm saying is factually accurate. It's like inviting a fifth column into a country and expecting it to work. No, as soon as there's a stressor event to a metastable position, it's going to collapse on itself. Anyway, so John Cleese made movies where England, when England was English, made a lot of great movies. Now, as Barbara Lerner-Spector says, they must learn to accept vibrant multiculturalism. But with that multiculturalism comes many limitations. There is no comedy in this brave new multicultural world. And I'm not exaggerating. There's no comedy under communism. Comedy requires free speech. Free speech points out what is going on, the court jester's role in speaking truth to power. But once communists are in power, they don't want to hear from the slaves. Why would they? It's like when Castro got elected, he said, elections? ¿Por qué? Why? We don't need elections. I'm in power now. Why would we need elections? We got rid of the dictator, and now I'm the people's choice until I die. Like, is that what we signed on for? I think we'd rather have the dictator back. The king is dead, long live the dictator. Anyway, so arguing about cancel culture is an argument over nationalism versus globalism. So it's all deck chairs on the Titanic to not address the actual issue. And the actual issue is not politically correct. I mean, there's really no point in John Cleese talking to this cat lady. So until the normie hits the fuck it point, everything is pointless. Unless John Cleese, I mean, like you're 80, like you should have reached the fuck it point by now. When will normies hit that event horizon of fuck it? I always envision these queef-sniffing San Francisco liberals doing coke and drinking microbrews. When will they decide that they've had enough of people breaking into their $100,000 electric cars or their garage like on a weekly basis? Every few weeks, they use drills to drill into garages and try to do home invasions. I mean, you can handle that problem yourself. Mossberg comes in mind. Defend your house. Where it's become like an economy that's centered around theft, looting stores and robbing homes, and then selling it all at the swap meet. Surely, at some point, the San Francisco panty sniffer will wake up, but will they? And don't call me Shirley. How do I explain the San Francisco liberal to you? They are the type of people who won't tell a POC that they're doing something stupid because they treat them like pets. It could literally be a bunch of liberals watching them try to run a Cessna on plutonium, and the liberals would recommend, oh, they're so brilliant, they must go to MIT or something, they're just geniuses, we got to crowdfund them a scholarship. MIT, pick these people up immediately. I swear to God, they talk like that. There's YouTube videos about something similar. It ends up they blow a hole in the airport and they kill 1 million people because it went critical. But it's cool because they'll blame the patriarchy and the white devil for systemic systems of syphilis or something. Liberals aren't wired right. They think they're gods and POCs are their trained animals. They don't treat them equally because they don't respect them enough to let them fail, so they end up making things worse. If you see this face, oh, are you my interviewer? Yes, I am. Now let's get started on this problematic issues of systemic systems. Oh, no, you're not my interviewer. Nice talking to you, though. Gotta go. It's not a question of free speech because back when England was English, parody was allowed. That was a part of being English. But as the English disappear, so will their way of doing things until the country has been totally converted into this commercial zone run by some bankers or big tech. Similar in America, it's dirty smear merchants, peddlers of discord. They're tribal and advocating for their tribes, and it's game theory. The media acts like a puppet master, pitting groups against each other. Their goal is to destroy the country. The news is only a tool to further their goals. Even profit is secondary. This only stops when people stop being politically correct and they start naming these various issues, and that's not going to happen in the mainstream media. To look at some issue of Dave Chappelle and have the reporter remind people, maybe free speech is important. Maybe we need to have open marketplace of ideas, argument and rebuttal, so people can decide for themselves. We don't present the conclusion, we present the arguments, and the people make up their own conclusion. Otherwise, if you let a small group control speech, then they control you. What else is there? Controlling speech is everything. So these are huge issues, and Congress should have been fighting over free speech for social media decades ago. Why didn't they? Because they don't give a darn about your rights or the Constitution. How is AOC more honest about not trading on insider information than Nancy Pelosi? Nancy Pelosi is worth $100 million because she insider traded on information she got in office. She's her and her husband. Hey, let's track Pelosi's stock buys. How did she get to be $150 million in office? Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next episode.